Go get some coffee. I went to meet a client to start a new project. But there, the representative, James, said something unexpected. James was actually a high school classmate who had always treated me with a high-handed attitude back then. In the tense atmosphere, the client's daughter, looking at my business card, exclaimed in surprise, "I've been looking for you." Blushing, she stared at me. "Huh?" James asked, frowning. And so, the story began to take an unexpected turn. My name is Kevin Johnson, 41 years old. I work at the regional branch of an IT startup, me.Then. I used to work at the headquarters, but 5 years ago, I got sick and had to step down from the front line. The city where the branch is located is also my hometown, and the transfer was arranged by the company's CEO, Tom, a friend from college. Take it easy for a while and relax in your hometown. Tom, who invited me to join the company during its startup phase and has kept me on ever since, even when I was ill, has my deepest gratitude. I wanted to work hard at the branch and repay his kindness. By the way, this branch has the lowest performance in the group, and some executives are even suggesting it should be sold. Since it's my hometown, I decided to launch a new business to improve its performance even a little. With the current emphasis on regional revitalization to break away from the concentration in New York, working on projects that invigorate local areas would bring grants and a good image for the company. When I consulted Tom about it, he readily agreed. If you think it's interesting, then it must be interesting. Why would I oppose it? Go all out. Tom has always been like that. Not only with me, but with any proposal from any employee. If he found it interesting, he would immediately accept it. His broad-mindedness and agility are the reasons why the company he started from scratch has grown rapidly in just 15 years. With Tom's encouragement, the branch staff also started coming up with ideas they hadn't thought of before. Thus, the full-scale revitalization project by the local branch office began. To make a local town lively, we need to attract a lot of attention. For that, we need to highlight the town's charms and features clearly. However, it's difficult to do that without knowing about the town ourselves first. So, I decided to start by reaching out to local businesses and visiting them. Surprisingly, I received quite a response and ended up having discussions with several local businesses and organizations. Today, I was supposed to meet with a representative from a well-known food processing company in the area. However, the representative didn't show up even after the scheduled time, and since I had another appointment, I called them. "Oh, I mixed up the time. Can we do it an hour later?" the person said, sounding a bit annoyed. "Sorry, but I have back-to-back appointments after this. Can we reschedule? How about we discuss it over the phone? Is it necessary to meet in person?" they asked. I replied politely, despite feeling a bit off by their attitude. "Well, if possible, I'd like to discuss it while looking at the proposal together," I answered. "Oh, okay. I'll send you a date and time that works later then. Bye." They abruptly hung up the phone. Despite feeling uneasy, I agreed to the proposed time and scheduled another meeting. I decided to visit their company directly this time to ensure they wouldn't skip the meeting again. And there, I discovered a surprising truth. "I'm sorry about the other day. It would have been better if you had come from the start. This time of year is our busy shipping season, and we're short-handed." As he welcomed me, I recognized the face of the man named James, the representative. To my surprise, he was a classmate from high school. James also looked at me and pointed in astonishment. "Hey, you're Kevin, the geek from high school. In high school, I was socially awkward and spent my afternoons in the school's computer room. Although it was part of the information processing club, it wasn't a time when everyone had their own computer, and of course, there were no smartphones. Being interested in computers was unusual back then. Because of that, I was labeled a geek and treated as weird by the girls in my class. Actually, just using a computer wouldn't have been enough to get me called those names. The person who created an environment where I was viewed strangely by others was none other than James. This guy plays suspicious games on the computer after school. Girls, you should be careful. James, who was a central figure in the class, said things like that, which made everyone view me oddly. Moreover, James started treating me like a lackey, and there was a time when I hated it so much that I stopped going to school. As these bitter memories resurfaced, I felt cold sweat trickle down my forehead. But that was high school. Many years had passed since then, and we were now adults. James probably didn't remember much from back then, and I shouldn't let such a past bother me. Long time no see. You look well, James. What's up? You haven't changed much, Kevin. Still messing with computers and playing weird games? James said, smirking without a hint of remorse as I nodded my head. I felt an overwhelming urge to run away from there. Just then, there was a knock on the door, and a young woman came in with tea. "Excuse me, here's some tea," she said in a timid voice, as if embarrassed, while placing the cups in front of us. "What? Tea? Don't you have any coffee?" James directed his comment to the woman. "Sorry, we're out of coffee at the moment," she replied, looking apologetic. Up close, she was very beautiful. "Oh, tea is fine for me," I quickly said, to which James retorted, "Maybe that's fine for you, but I only drink coffee." "I'm sorry, I'll go get some right away." The atmosphere in the room completely reverted to how it used to be, with James in control. I felt as if I was reliving my old high school situation. Hold on, Emily, you don't need to go shopping. You're a lady after all." Then James looked at me and said, "Go buy some coffee." The woman looked shocked and said to James, "What? You can't ask a guest to go buy coffee. I'll go get it." "He's not a guest. Kevin has always been everyone's errand boy. Plus, he's a geek, so you should stay away from him, Emily," James said with a smirk. I couldn't help but glare at James. "Oh, did I make you mad? Just kidding. Tea is fine. And Kevin, don't take such jokes seriously." James laughed loudly. Both the woman, Emily, and I looked at James with faces full of exasperation. Even now, looking down on someone weak-willed like this and feeling superior. Have you not grown at all mentally since high school? But your business card says game creator. Are you still doing that? I'm not developing games anymore. But my boss said it would be more interesting to have it on my title. The truth is, Tom wants me to create a game for him. After all, we met through games in the first place. However, I've lost my passion for games, and the title of game creator is just that, a title. At that moment, Emily picked up my business card from the table and exclaimed in surprise, "What? Are you Kevin Johnson, the game creator who made Idle Love?" Idle Love is a PC game I developed over several years, starting in my college days. It was explosively popular for a time, but eventually faded away with the changing times. Yes, I used to do that, so I put it as one of the titles on my business card, but it was back when I was in my 20s. Now, I'm mostly working as a system engineer for the company. Feeling a bit embarrassed by the compliment on my past work, I answered that way. But in front of me was Emily, blushing even more than I was, looking at me intently. "I've been looking for you for so long." "What?" James seemed more surprised by those words than I was. Because of James, I had a miserable high school life, but on the other hand, it made me give up on human relationships and focus on what I loved. During college, instead of enjoying my youth outdoors, I stayed home making games. The game I created during that time was Idle Love, which involves producing young men and women and helping them grow as pop stars. And the one who took an interest in what I was doing was Tom. With his foresight, he predicted the rapid growth of the mobile game industry when most cell phones still had monochrome screens. "Kevin's games are fun. If we market this, it'll be a hit. The era of pop star training is coming." Tom was highly praised, but I never thought what I was doing would be so well received by the public. In high school, I was seen as a weirdo by everyone, and I believed that being a gamer was something to be ashamed of. I made this for my own satisfaction, so I have no intention of putting it out there. Besides, if I seriously push something like this, even you, Tom, will be seen as weird. That's not true. If you face that kind of reaction, it's because you were ahead of your time, or the people around you were idiots. I don't mean to badmouth small towns, but in closed-off places, just doing something different can get you strange looks, right? Tom, born and raised in New York, was very convincing to me, someone who came from a small town, and above all, he had a keen awareness of new cultures. If you've got talent, you should let the world know. There are definitely people who will be moved by what you create. In fact, there are probably lots of them. I'll take responsibility and show you that. His eyes were completely clear when he said that. No one else around me had ever said something like that, so I decided to trust him completely. At the time, Tom had already started a company with a few friends, running an online sales site. Both online sales and online games are going to become mainstream. The company will definitely grow, and just as he predicted, the times moved forward. Not just for me, but many talented people gathered around Tom, leading to remarkable progress. Along the way, some of the games I made became hits, causing a social phenomenon among young people. Tom, you were right. You're really amazing. When I said that, Tom smiled and replied, "The real amazing ones are the creators. I'm just figuring out how to get people to know about it." However, as times change, so do gaming populations, tastes, and preferences. My sensibilities couldn't keep up with those changes. By the time I was in my 30s, I thought it was time to hand over the reins to younger creators and shifted my work from game development to system development for the company. In the end, I think it broadened my perspective beyond just knowing about games. By learning about the various operations of the company, I had the opportunity to think about what a company is and what it should be for society. Thanks to that experience, I decided to start a new job in my hometown. At this age, I finally changed my mindset from doing only what I love to making my job something I love. But now, to think I'd meet a fan of the games I made. Facing Emily, who was looking at me with shining eyes, I didn't know what to say. "Thanks to the game you created, I was able to get through life. Game creator Kevin is my benefactor." As she said that, Emily rushed over and grabbed my hand. Having a young and beautiful woman suddenly take my hand made me feel like I was about to panic. When I was in elementary school, I was overweight and got excluded by everyone. I didn't want to go to school, and I hated myself. Then I found idle love and started to think that maybe I could change too. When I was making games, I often received letters from users. They would say things like they had changed or their lives had changed because of the game, and reading those letters always made me happy. "It's an honor to work with you. Please take good care of me." Looking into Emily's sparkling eyes, I replied shyly, "In reality, it wasn't the game that changed you. It was your own ability to change that did it. But I'm glad I could be a part of that. I'm looking forward to working with you too." Of course, James didn't stay silent during our exchange. "Hey, who said you could decide that? I'm the only one with decision-making power here, got it? Besides, Emily is the former CEO's daughter, and my dad bought the company 3 months ago. We're just keeping her around out of pity." When James said that, Emily's eyes suddenly lost their sparkle. She returned to her earlier timid expression and apologized to James. "I'm sorry. I felt anger rising inside me seeing that. That's not the way to speak to someone. If you acquired the company, you should consider how to manage it properly. Tom is great at doing things like that, which is why he has been able to grow the company this much." I accidentally mentioned Tom. James looked at me with a puzzled expression and asked, "Tom?" "Tom is the CEO of our company. He has also acquired several companies to expand our business, but has managed to do so without causing problems internally. Many employees even say they are glad to have been acquired. Who cares? Your company might be big, but you're just a grunt at a branch office, right? Don't act all high and mighty. I could call this Tom and complain about your arrogance right now." Emily looked terrified at James' outburst. I felt sorry for her. Unfortunately, I couldn't interfere further in another company's matters. "I understand. If you'd like, would you like to complain directly to our CEO?" "Ha! A grunt like you can't just call the CEO. Despite his words, James seemed a bit intimidated. In my network, anyone can directly present their opinions to the CEO if they're reasonable. Especially our CEO, Tom, who values the opinions of newcomers as the company grows. There's no such thing as a grunt in our company. Ignoring James' sputtering, I called Tom. I thought he might be in a board meeting and unavailable, but the call connected immediately. When I switched to speaker mode, Tom's voice boomed through the room. "What's up, Kevin? I didn't think you'd be able to pick up since you're in a board meeting. Is it already over?" "No, I stepped out. There's no way I wouldn't answer your call, right? After all, Kevin, you're the honorary chairman of this company." "Honorary chairman?" James exclaimed in shock. Tom then asked, "Is someone else there with you?" "Actually, I'm going around to local companies for that revitalization project, and I managed to anger the person in charge here. They said they can't work with a gaming geek and demanded to speak to the CEO, so I connected the call to you." I then looked over at James. "This is our CEO, Tom. Please go ahead and direct your complaints to him." But James was completely frozen, unable to utter a word. After a brief silence, Tom spoke first. "If our honorary chairman has been rude, I apologize. He spent so much time making games that he's a bit naive about the world. But I believe that someone who can create interesting things has the talent to make any job interesting." At that moment, Emily seized the opportunity and shouted, "I'm a fan of Kevin. I think Idle Love is a masterpiece that will go down in gaming history." Tom began laughing on the other end of the call. "See, you have fans. Well, all matters regarding the local branch are entrusted to Kevin, so please try to work things out smoothly. I hope your town will thrive. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get back to the meeting." With James still in shock, I spoke to him. "I've always wanted to do something for my hometown. Despite everything, it's where I grew up, and I think giving back will help resolve some of my own inner conflicts." James looked at me with a solemn expression. In the silence, there was a knock on the door. "CEO, are you back from the meeting already?" Emily spoke as the person entered. It seemed like the CEO of this company had arrived. "Dad?" James stood up in surprise. The elderly man with a kind face nodded to me. "I've been listening from outside the room. It seems my son has been very rude to you, and I apologize." I was taken aback by the sudden bow. "Please raise your head." "It's not necessary. Actually, today there was a meeting of local company CEOs to discuss the revitalization of our town. We were just realizing that the local companies alone might not be enough. If we could have the support of a large corporation, we would greatly appreciate it." "Dad, this is my responsibility." James hastily stepped between me and the CEO. "You really are a foolish son. I know you've been acting high-handedly towards Emily and the other employees. But Dad, you saved this company by buying it, and I'm the CEO's son." The CEO let out a deep sigh. "I inherited this company from my mentor. Don't misunderstand. Moreover, I think Emily has more potential for the future than a foolish son like you. If you don't change your attitude, I'll kick you out of the company." Suddenly scolded, James was left speechless. "Mr. Johnson, could you please attend the local Chamber of Commerce meetings in the future and share your insights? I believe your words, coming from someone who grew up here and succeeded in a large corporation, would help steer the discussions in a positive direction." "Of course, I'd be honored to participate." I shook hands firmly with the CEO. I later learned that James's father was the most influential person in town. Being able to attend the local Chamber of Commerce meetings accelerated the revitalization project, leading to the formulation of various plans. To implement these plans one by one, the local branch would receive support from the headquarters. The revitalization project initiated by Mindwork, a major venture company, was featured in the news, sparking interest from other companies in regional revitalization efforts. As a result, no executives in the company suggested selling off the underperforming local branch anymore. Contrary to my fears, the incident didn't create a rift between James and me. On the contrary, he occasionally invited me out for drinks and introduced me to friends, helping me reconnect with people my age after losing touch with my local peers. Thanks to him, I was able to build new relationships. James even surprised me with an unexpected comment. Emily suggested I try Idle Love. It's really good. The quality is amazing, especially for an old game. I couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Wait, you play games too, James? Actually, I'm a pretty avid gamer. But my dad was strict about education and banned games at home. So, I was always jealous of you. Really, I always thought you hated gamers. Back then, I had to keep up appearances. I was just a kid too. I'm really sorry about that. I'd always wanted an apology from James, but it turned out he just wanted to connect. I'm not bothered by being called a geek anymore. In fact, it motivated me to leave town, and I got to meet Tom. If I'd stayed here, I wouldn't be who I am today. If you say so, Kevin. But you were a geek too. From now on, I'll see you as a gaming geek. Hey, I'm a gamer, not a gaming geek. At that moment, Emily arrived. Sorry to keep you waiting. We were all taken aback by her appearance. She showed up at the bar, dressed like a pop star who had just stepped out of a screen. That's what a geek looks like, James said, exasperated. However, Emily seemed completely unfazed by our or anyone else's reactions. She stood out at the bar, but looked like she was having a great time. But as long as she's having fun, it's all good. When I said that, Emily smiled and exclaimed, right? And downed a beer in one go. And pop stars shouldn't chug beer, James said, exasperated. But to me, Emily looked absolutely stunning. Emily is young and cute. Excuse me, she called the waiter and immediately ordered another beer. You have no eye for these things. Emily is not much younger than us. If you like her, you should marry her. She does her job well, but in private, she's always like that, so no one approaches her. What? Marry? I couldn't help but raise my voice. She used to be a local pop star in this town, but there are age limits. She had to retire reluctantly and ended up like this. I think she likes you. And given how much you've influenced her, you should take responsibility. This comment from James led to me and Emily starting a relationship with marriage in mind. The happiest about this was Tom. Congrats! You're marrying a pop star? Well, she's a former pop star. Although she probably still feels like one. Whatever the case, if you're happy, that's all that matters. I'll throw you a grand wedding, so look forward to it. Tom laughed as he said that. Thanks. It's all thanks to you, Tom. You didn't abandon me when I was sick, and you made me honorary chairman. Honestly, you could have been the CEO. The name Might Work represents both of us. Our initials are hidden in the company name. It's a company that connects the world with us, Tom said in the same tone as always. I sincerely hope this company would continue into the future.